Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the Business Line podcast. Hard to believe it's already been 6 different folks we've got to talk to. So today we've got a really great show in line for you guys. We've got Rahul Arora, who is an entrepreneur with over 17,000 LinkedIn followers. He's backed by over 6 different venture capitalist investors. He's currently making tech hiring stupidly easy. And we're going to find out how that is, because I tell you what, we hire techs often. And is not stupidly easy, is stupidly difficult. So let's learn a little bit about Rahul. So he's the founder and CEO of Interview. This is an on-demand tech interview company that can interview and filter candidates in 30 minutes or less in some cases. He's got over 200 customers and multiple $1 million in revenue. Interview, what it does is it allows organizations to save engineering bandwidth from within their company, interviewing bandwidth by taking up candidate evaluations. Companies give their tech interviews to them, and then the engineers doing the interviews from known companies like what we're called the FANGs, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. So these are engineers that work for these companies that become the interviewers of your candidates. So they interview them in a special platform, and then they share the recommendations about the candidates, filter them for you, and get them back to you. This can turn a process of interviewing from a 30-day process, multiple interviews to find the right person that you want to offer a job, down to maybe less than 5 days. That doesn't even seem possible. Like, how can you find the right person for like a software engineering or a tech engineer or a technician or support technician? How can you find the right person in 5 days? We've never been able to do that. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's raised money, like I said before, from 6 different venture capitalists for this business, which he's named Interview. And I think he got started with this as he was still an employee at a company back in 2020. So it hasn't been around that long. And this kind of growth this quick is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's serving like more than 50 companies now.
Yep.
He's a tech veteran. He's a keynote speaker. And the most important thing about it, he doesn't have a plan B, and he doesn't believe in plan B.
Yeah, all or nothing. Burn the ships, baby.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, should we bring him in? Should we get this party started?
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, Rahul, welcome to the Business Line podcast, buddy. Nice to have you. All right, everybody. We've got Rahul here. Thank you so much for joining the Business Line podcast. Rahul, how you doing today, bud?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. So let's just get started right away. Tell us a little bit about your story. You know, how'd you get started? Take us from the beginning.
I'll keep it short. Been an engineer for about 9 years prior to this. Took a lot of tech interviews myself, more than 3,000 of them. Realized that it's a real problem. Interview fatigue is real. Created a platform. Me and my co-founder, we joined hands. We built a platform to efficiently take interviews. Very soon after selling to 50 customers, we realized that no one wants to take interviews itself. And we rather created a marketplace of interviewers around that platform and told companies that we will take all your interview rounds, and interviewers now will be paid for that. So long story short, here we are serving more than 200 plus customers. And it's a big need in the market where companies can now give us their interviews. We get those interviews done from engineers from other companies, which are sitting at an equivalent sort of an engineering bar. And that's what enables them to accelerate their hiring and also, do justice to the interview fatigue that was there. And interviewers on the other side get to make money out of it.
Yeah, so I remember reading a little bit about your guys' process and how you're taking the lengthy interview process that sometimes takes weeks, if not a month or so, and boiling that down to a really, quick turnaround, 5 days or less or something like that. Tell us a little bit about how you've accomplished that.
So we basically saw that, any tech company, and even, I've been an engineering manager prior to this. So hired a team of 200 plus engineers myself. To close one single position, it takes on an average 30 to 45 days. The reason is simple, because you get a lot of applicants. Your interviewers will say, I'm not available this week. I'll be taking that interview next week. You might lose out on certain candidates. You might have to do the sourcing again. Candidates might go to another company, and of course you struggle with offer to join ratio and so many other things, right? So at the same time, what we tell the companies is, hey, if you have 100 applicants, we'll interview all of those 100 in a single day, because we have more than 5,000 interviewers to take these interview rounds. And these interview rounds can happen on Saturday, Sunday, odd hours, post 8 p.m., 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. as well. which means you don't, even if your team is sitting back at home relaxing, our interviewers are doing the job and taking the interview for you. So now imagine you submitting 100 candidates on a Friday and getting all the results on a Monday morning, and then finally putting the candidate through a hiring manager round and giving them an offer letter. So as opposed to waiting for a 30 to 45 day period and not losing out on that talent, you're able to close out on that position in just 4 to 5 days. So yeah, that's long story short.
Okay. Manny, what do you think?
So yeah, is it only like for engineers, for like all the positions a company?
Well, as a CEO, I really think that you should build something for someone before you build everything for everyone. So we started off with engineering, but I think this model can be easily extrapolated. And now that I'm hearing from a lot of companies who are using us for tech roles, also wants to use us for non-tech roles, where they might be hiring financial analysts, marketing people, sales people. And a lot of these companies where use cases are that they want to build a marketing team from scratch, but they don't have any marketer to interview. They want to build let's say a finance team from scratch. They don't have any finance guy to take an interview. And that is where, non-tech roles would also come in handy.
Okay, so about these interviewers, how do you rope them in and what are their qualifications before you decide that, they can be an interviewer?
There are 5 categories of these interviewers. One is IT services, product-based enterprises, your Adobe, Dell, Samsung sort of companies. Startups, we all know what startups are. Hypergrowth companies like Uber and Walmarts of the world. And then Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. We reach out to all these 5 categories of companies. We reach out to senior engineers, ask them to become an engineer. This is very rare that we reach out ourselves. We get a lot of inbound because engineers on our platform, they make more money than what they make from their day job. So we get a lot of inbound. People who apply with us, they basically claim to be good with certain things. They have to fill a form. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say a front-end engineer signs up. They will say, I'm good with JavaScript and React. They'll fill a form. They'll tell us all the technologies. We'll pair them with an already vetted engineer who's there on our platform, who will vet this new engineer. Once the vetting is complete, and obviously they have to cross a certain rating level, they are approved as a new interviewer. And that is how we get them. At any given point in time, every single day, we receive about 20 to 30 applicants of interviewers to become an interviewer with us.
So these interviewers are not your employees. They are independent contractors who are working for you on as needed basis whenever they are required.
They work with us as freelancers, but they have their day job. They might be working at Google, Microsoft, or a Flipkart or a Amazon, but they work with us as a freelancer.
So these interviewers are from all around the globe or, some particular country?
We started it from India, obviously, being closer to home. But even in the US, we have interviewers. We have interviewers from North America. We have interviewers from Singapore, Australia, and we have interviewers from Canada as well now.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, so you are catering to a global market, right? Companies from all 100%. Over the globe are here. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And your model is total remote. All your interviewers are
100%. They are freelancers. They sign up with us. They create a profile. We validate that profile. We vet them, and after they are vetted, their job is simple. We have our own coding environment on which they have to come and take the interview. The interview is fully structured. They have to fill the feedback. Let's say it takes 1.5 hours to take an interview round. After 1.5 hours, while they end the interview, their account is credited with a particular sum that we agreed upon, which we basically send them as a push notification. So it's imagine like an Uber driver app. They have an interviewer app. They accept the interview there. Once the interview gets over, their account is credited with money and they can withdraw that money instantly.
Oh, absolutely. Wow, fascinating.
Okay,
so
is really cool.
How did you come up this idea? This problem has been there for ages.
Yeah, so I'm super interested in that.
Yeah, so basically, I was an engineering manager for good 2.5 years. I used to go every Saturday to the office because, our company was scaling up the R&D team here in India. And I used to go to, to the office on every Saturday, take a lot of interviews. And I used to wonder, why am I not getting paid for it? And then I started talking to a lot of my friends who had the same, condition where they were taking a lot of interviews, even post office hours, or accommodate the interview within their work, and they were still expected to deliver that sprint on time. And I used to think that, why are these people not getting paid? And interestingly, we got a few individuals, got them to take about 80 interviews. We paid them for that, and they were like, that was a eureka moment. They were really like that. This is something that we want to get paid for, and we instantly had a lot of interviewers applying with us, where they knew that they're getting paid for now, finally taking those interview rounds. And I really think there's this gap within organizations where interview fatigue is real, but these interviewers are not getting paid, and these are real engineers. So, and sometimes engineers also do not have, the bandwidth to take an interview. So we are trying to, somehow create a balance between bandwidth and at the same time paying these interviewers who are taking out the time to take an interview round, which also helps us accelerate hiring. I also think there is a very strong reason. The second reason why we started this, I really think with generative AI and all of these things coming into picture, we are moving into a world where a lot of candidates can go to ChatGPT or a similar generative AI sort of a tool, put in a prompt and say, hey, this is a JD, can you make me a perfect resume? And a resume will come out. The recruiter on the other side who's going to do that hiring will do a keyword search and the resume will get shortlisted. Completely fake resume. And I think this problem is going to increase more than ever now. And I really think the world needs to have, first of all, a way to quickly accelerate hiring, and at the same time a way to pay the interviewers. But secondly, I think the world also needs a vetted pool of candidates. Imagine, and this is what I tell everybody that I meet. Imagine there is a global vetted pool across the world, and every company is hiring through that vetted pool. And now the resumes are out of the picture. There is a real interview round that has been done. There is a report of the candidate, and these are all vetted people. So you can literally, you have a certain level of trust on that report because the report holds that credibility.
So these candidates that the companies are looking for, the success that you're getting is like for remote employees or in-office employees?
We do all sorts of hiring requirements. It doesn't matter to us really, but some of the use cases that I've come across: remote hiring, permanent hiring, in-office hiring, contract to hire, very good for contractual roles. All of these use cases, interview fits into it as far as it's a tech interview round. Secondly, most of the people who have a high velocity of hiring or are building teams from scratch, or they don't want to disturb their engineering ecosystem or the bandwidth that engineers are putting in to create the product, they come to us for us to take the interview rounds. So it's regardless of what sort of hiring they're doing, more dependent on what's the velocity of hiring and whether they want to disturb their engineering ecosystem or not.
So was it like easy to sell your idea to VCs?
I would say to VCs it was easy because we had a lot of learnings from the market firsthand. When we went into the market, but to customers it was very, very difficult. When I went to our first customer, I had a lot of pushback. This was a huge company called Upstocks from India, which is also Robinhood of India, basically equivalent to Robinhood, what Robinhood is doing in US. I went to that company. I told them that you have to outsource the interview, and they were completely like, are you crazy? Why would we do that? Why would we give it to you? Because our interview processes are baby, and this is a company which is known for their engineering bar.
Yeah.
And then I told them that we'll do justice. We'll get FANG interviewers for you, and they will take the interview exactly as per your engineering bar, and they will take your hiring criteria into picture, and it will be a fully transparent process. Also resume-less. It's a bias-free way of interviewing. Somehow I got their buy-in. We did 80 interviews for them. It turned out to be a success. So yeah, more difficult to convince. It was initially more difficult to convince the customers, but eventually market went into that direction completely. It was easier to convince the VCs because for them we are creating a marketplace where we are actually trying to fulfill a need that didn't exist early, that existed earlier, but no one fulfilled it. For them also, numbers spoke a lot. So that's where we are.
If you had some wins, then it's easier to convince them that it's going to work. So besides convincing the customers, your first couple closes on new business, what were the biggest challenges to getting this off the ground originally?
Well, lots of challenges. Initially we were super scared that if candidate actually turns out to be good, the interviewer on the other side is a senior engineer, might end up poaching the candidate. That was the number one problem that we had. Second level of problem was if something happens, and we wanted it to be a fully transparent process. Even if you are giving the interview to us, we wanted to share a report, a video recording of the entire round so that it can be audited by the organization. So we were super, the issue in our head was that what if something goes wrong in the interview round, we lose our entire credibility. First of all, we are pitching this crazy idea, and then if something goes wrong, because humans are talking to humans, so something can go wrong definitely. So that was another thing that was there in our mind. There were plenty of other things, proper reporting on the dashboard, etc., which we had to build over a period of time. And then thirdly, we wanted to go resume-less. So we kept thinking, how do we go resume-less? Because ideal way is that interviewer holds a resume in their hand and starts talking about the resume itself, the introduction and the projects itself. Now, how do we go resume-less from there? Because if we don't go resume-less, there'll be a certain bias attached to it, because we never wanted, let's say, an Amazon engineer to know that this person that they're interviewing is from Google.
Yeah.
That bias will kick in. We would never wanted to do that. So how do we go resume-less was another challenge. So we had to introduce a lot of layers slowly and steadily over a period of 6 months. But eventually we got there. So, I mean, we had to overcome all these challenges for sure.
So when your resume list, are interviewers kind of focusing more on the skill set and giving examples, as opposed to say, I see you have 6 months of experience here, at Amazon as a senior systems engineer and so on and so forth. Tell me about that. Instead of doing that,
So that's a very good question. So what they basically do is, we thought, what should replace the resume? So if interviewers have a set of instructions in the form of good to haves and must haves, which is there in every particular JD, they are aligned with the interview process. And then we basically tell them certain metadata about the interview round. They know the candidate experience. They don't know the name of the candidate. They know the candidate experience. They know what is the engineering bar like. So engineering bar is the category of the company that they are interviewing. They don't know the company name, but they know the company category. So they can align themselves according to that. They know the difficulty level of the round. They know the round rubrics. Rubrics is a thing that we introduced to mitigate the resume. Rubric is a set of good to haves and must haves, but detailed down at a technical level. I'll give you an example there. Let's say I'm handling a JavaScript interview round. I have to tell this company whether this candidate is a fit for a JavaScript role or not. Now, rather than telling the company that the candidate is good or bad in JavaScript, we go 6 levels down, or six sub-skills. We rate the candidate on 6 sub-skills within JavaScript. We tell them whether the candidate is good with asynchronous programming, fundamentals of JavaScript, or knowledge of the browser. Sorry for throwing these jargons out.
No,
but that's
okay.
how it is. For every skill, we basically gauge sub-skills, and that is where we are able to tell the company that this is where the candidate is sitting, which kind of, over a period of time told us that resume is not needed at all, because this is what is getting validated in every round. And typically it also, resonated with all the interview processes that companies are following, because if you see any typical back-end or front-end hiring that happens in any company, the company follows a design round. There might be a high-level design round and a low-level design round, followed by a hands-on coding round. This hands-on coding round might involve, talking about previous projects, etc. But they also want to ask a question upfront. It's not like they will just take the candidate in basis theoretical knowledge. So we thought, why not, mitigate all of that previous experience and let the candidate express themselves in terms of good to haves and must haves. And that really worked out for us.
Mm-hmm.
So at our company, we haven't really broken down into the software engineering game, but as we scale, what we're starting to see is we're starting to interview and bring in more IT support technicians, skilled network technicians and things like that. So that's really Joe's forte. So that can be a struggle finding, it's not necessarily always hard to find someone with a good skill set technically, because that can be trained relatively easy. A struggle is maybe the people skill side of things, the soft skills, the art of network administration, talking to other people and finding out what the problem was and solving it. Do you guys get into that as well?
100%. We don't get into cultural fitment. So there is a thin line between cultural fitment and personality traits. We do personality traits.
Okay,
and we call these soft skills or process knowledge. A lot of these engineers might be an IT support or a network engineer, or might be a mainstream engineer in any company. They have to have that logical reasoning, problem solving ability, and communication or articulation sort of skills. That's a must have, especially for companies which are client facing, where one engineer has to also face the client and talk to the client at the same time. So that's a primary thing. So we enable companies to take interviews on these soft skills by pairing them with engineers who are well versed with those soft skills. Second is, some of the companies come to us and tell us, can you interview engineers on knowledge of processes or knowledge of tools? For example, engineers use a lot of support tools or Jira, tools provided by Atlassian, right? And they want whether they have Scrum knowledge or Agile process knowledge or Waterfall process knowledge or not. So they can tick mark all of these things on a platform. It's literally like a template. They can tick mark that, and we literally pair them with an engineer who has that knowledge, and we have pre-vetted them. So that all is tested along with the interview round as a skill as well.
Okay.
So once you basically, vet out all these candidates and present them in front of the companies, these companies, do they further interview them, or they just select?
Oh, so that's a great question. And I'll give you a real answer, what is happening today, but I also will give you an answer basis my vision, what should happen. So real thing that's happened today is company uses as a very accurate filtering layer, which means they give us, I would say 70% of the companies give us their first round of interview, where we are able to filter out 90% of the candidates for them and they are able to save out on that bandwidth. Remaining 30% also gives us the second round. Typically in any tech company, 3 technical rounds happen. Some of the, on an average, I'm not saying this is a hard-coded rule for every company, but typically in companies that follow only 2 technical rounds, the third round is a hiring manager round, or the hiring manager round is followed by the third technical round. So what I'm trying to say is we basically take first 2 rounds in majority of the companies, and then companies do take a hiring manager round to validate whether this candidate is a cultural fitment according to the culture of the company, and the hiring manager obviously validates on other skills as well. There are some companies who take the first round with us, but then obviously take the second and the third round themselves, because that is how they craft their process. But we leave it to the companies only. There's no fixed framework for it. So we are there for the companies to help them at any point in time. How many rounds they want to give to us, they can do that.
So basically you might have, different packages. Okay. If you are doing, only one round, you have a different package. If you're doing everything, you might have a different package, right?
Yeah, we actually made it super simple for the companies. Every engineer who's coming and taking an interview on our platform has an hourly cost. So because they have an hourly cost, every round comes at a cost. So it doesn't matter how many rounds you're giving to us. Every round is 1 credit. So we just sell credits.
You sell credits.
Okay, so you're only charging for the hourly. You're not charging like once the person is selected and placed in the company, you are not charging any other fees?
Oh, not at all. We don't want to get into that success fee model because we are a filtering layer. So we don't even charge hourly. We just say 1 interview credit, because interview can get over in 25 minutes depending if the candidate is really poor, or let's say the candidate is good. Interviews which are designated ideally for 1 hour can get spilled over to an hour, 20 minutes or 30 minutes as well sometimes. So we just say 1 interview is 1 interview credit until it's ended and all the rubrics are well tested, and we don't charge for any success fee.
Interesting.
Okay, so suppose, like you are interviewing maybe like 100 candidates for a particular position for a particular company. Now, these 100 candidates, as you said, like some candidates are like really poor. The interview gets over like maybe like 5, 10 or 20 minutes. So even for that, you charge those
100%, because there's an interviewer who's coming in and taking the interview, and at the same time, I am saving the bandwidth of the company, because let's say a company is interviewing 100 candidates, would have rolled out 5 offer letters. My pitch to them is, hey, I'm going to take those 100 interviews in a day and tell you who are the 8 best candidates. You'll still end up rolling out 5 offer letters, but you don't have to interview the 92. I'll do that heavy lifting. So now they are able to save all that hourly cost of the engineers who were earlier going to invest time. Secondly, there's another catch, and this is a big one. Many times when these engineers take the interview round, they don't have a lot of time to fill in the feedback. When they don't fill the feedback objectively, there's no feedback loop that goes back to the recruiter, telling them why these batch of candidates got rejected. And now the recruiter who's sourcing the candidate at the other end has no feedback loop. Hence, sourcing remains the same. In our case, because everything is an objective skill, we are able to tell at the end of the day back to their team that 90% of their candidates got rejected because they were bad at Docker. Or 90% of the candidates got rejected because their fundamentals of Unix and Linux or Bash programming were weak. There, the recruiter has a feedback loop. And our reports are a bare minimum 3 to 4 page long, which means the recruiters can go through that report very objectively. They can say, oh, the candidate lagged here. And that is why we need to maybe phone screen the candidates better, which cannot happen in a real company until and unless proper focus is put on and creating an interview process, which will further defeat the purpose and it will just waste more bandwidth of the engineers.
So again, I'll take the same example. So these 100 candidates that I was talking about. So these 100 candidates are given to you by the company, right? And then you interview them. Okay,
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
No,
that's great.
I like this. This is like, and here's what I like about it. You know what I hate about the interview process with us, like any company deals with, is okay, I'm going to get on Indeed, or I'm going to get on ZipRecruiter, and I'm going to put the profile out there, and then people are going to respond, and that's all done a lot by kind of machine AI too. They're trying to match up people who they think are going to fit with me, and a third of the time is not a fit, so it's a waste of my time scanning those, right? And then I'm thumbs up, I'm thumbs down, I'm maybe whatever, and so you spend all this time, even if it's an HR manager, spending all this time vetting through that. And then you got to start the interviewing, right? And then how many people, Mandy, when we're interviewing for for, let's say, a new RCM seat on our team, how many people are we interviewing if we're going to hire a new professional coder? Now, and this Rahul, for coding, we're talking about medical coding, not software coding, but coding for medical revenue cycle management.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot, like the HR department.
Hundreds, right?
Yeah, hundreds. We receive, like hundreds of resumes. And then, it's a task, like to connect with, call them, connect with them, maybe trying to find a ideal time for both of us in order to interview those people. So, yeah.
And then you bring them back to me and say, okay, how's their communication? Because they're going to be client facing, right?
Yeah. Everything. I mean, sometimes it takes, to get one person, it takes 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to interview like hundreds of people.
Yep. And then you might get them, and then they show up the first day and they get scared and they don't come back.
Yeah, they don't come. So what's your policy regarding that? So once you select candidates, interview them, select them, and give your, these are the candidates that, you might. So do you give any kind of guarantees after that? Like, okay, if that guy leaves that company within a week or 2 weeks time or within. So
if, I'm again saying, put us as a filtering layer.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
every question will be answered instantly. We are just a filtering layer for you.
Just a filter.
So I'm just there to save your bandwidth so that you don't have to interview so many candidates. I am not as a company, I'm not responsible for that candidate's performance in your company. Might be dependent on external factors. I've just taken an interview round, and I'm more of a facilitator for you because I'm opening this marketplace of interviewers for you, and I am. What the guarantee that I am giving you is that I'll make that interview happen in the next 1 hour if the candidate is available, or whenever the candidate is available. That's my guarantee to you. And I can interview a batch of 500 candidates in the next 2 to 3 hours, given all candidates are available, because the interviewers are so many that I can pair the candidates with. That's my only guarantee. After the filtering layer, it's all the onus lies on the company itself, because I've already saved them the heavy lifting.
You've laser focused on a need and you're sticking to it, which is absolutely smart. Right? It's very smart. So here's a question. So it sounds like you've done a really good job of building process into the communication and with the interviewers, right? How about with the clients? Is that processed through an app as well? If I was a client, can I jump on the app and say, okay, I need I've got two, it's showing I have 200 interview credits. I need to use 150 interview credits on this position, and then, go get them, Tiger.
For you, for an employer, it's super easy because there is a catalog of profiles that is there on your dashboard on our web or the desktop app. You just have to click a dashboard. You will be shown 6 templates, or you can create your fresh template, which is template is nothing but a combination of must have and good to have, which is there in your JD. So you just select the template, put any number of candidates to it, and just simply click on request button. Your interviewer will be paired within 38 minutes. You will get live updates. It's like ordering food from or a food delivery app. So it's just like that. So even if you upload 500 candidates, for you, it'll be a progress bar and it'll keep showing you that interviewers paired. And then it'll show you real progress that interview is happening now and interview done. Here's the report download and here's the video recording.
Okay.
So suppose, okay, I didn't get this. So we give you a pool of 100 candidates. Now, it will be your responsibility to set up time with them for interviews?
Both the options are available. And, I'll also tell you what we tell these customers. Both options are available. You can punch in candidate availability if you have already talked to the candidate. Good for us, because we just send a confirmation and an IVR call confirming that, hey, this is your availability. Your interview is going to happen at this time. And it's super easy because now we just have to send a push notification to multiple interviewers available at that point in time and satisfying our other pairing logic. That's when the interview is paired. If you don't want to fill the availability, good there as well. Just punch in the candidate. But here's what we advise the companies to do. We tell the companies tell them that interview.io is your interviewing partner, so that the candidate is not alienated by the fact that some strange company is calling them to take an interview round with them. That also develops a bridge between the candidate and us, which is good for your candidate experience as well. Ultimately, we advise the companies this, and that is where, the chances of the candidate not being a no-show, the chances of candidate being a no-show reduces drastically, because they know we are a legit partner with you guys and we can interview your candidate. So if you are not giving us the candidate availability, at least develop that bridge, and you can place a request. Our WhatsApp message and IVR call will go to the candidate. They can punch in their availability themselves. If they don't respond in certain period of time, someone from our ops team only will call the candidate manually, get their availability, and again the whole process will start from there.
So what I really love about this is, absolute love about this is, like maybe you have 100 candidates, you set up a time, say like 6 to 7 o'clock, and all those 100 candidates can be done in 1 hour. You'll get the results in 1 hour.
That's true. And we have done it so many times. Yeah.
And I'm understanding this, I think, better now. Like, you're not doing the recruiting. You're not getting the candidates, but the candidates are given to you. You're laser focused on the filter, and whoever makes it through the filter, you hand off to whether it's back internally to the company or whatever, right? So it's that one slice, but that one slice can be so difficult, which is the time-consuming interview process. And wow, okay. So can we switch gears here a little bit? I want to learn a little bit more because I like to dig in. So Rahul, how long ago did you have that idea when you were coming in on Saturdays and doing this type of interview work and not getting paid? How long ago was that?
This was back in the year 2020.
Okay, 2020. So
COVID time.
So before COVID or after COVID came around?
This was before COVID.
But it's funny now. It's like now it's BC is not, before Christ, it's before COVID, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so right before COVID happened, boom, light goes off above your head, and you got this idea, sick and tired of not getting paid for doing this extra work. So what's it like for you and like Manny's from India, Joe's from India. I get it. Manny's got a company in India, but share with our viewers what it's like being an employee in India, having an idea, and then telling everybody bye, and I'm just going to go do this thing. Was that scary? Were you nervous? Did people say you were crazy? Did people say there's no way you're never going to do it, man? Forget about it. Tell me about that. That's what I want to hear about.
I mean, that's super interesting, and it's an interesting story. I would like to, share it with you guys. So when we had that idea, I and my co-founder created the whole product. There was a live coding environment to take interviews, and that environment really aided the interviewers to take interview faster because it had all components of an interview coming together.
So were you still an employee with a company at that time when you were doing this? Okay, so you hadn't quit yet.
Yeah, hadn't quit yet. We created the MVP while we were working. Now, interesting thing happened.
Safe.
Yeah.
We wanted to at least create the product before we go out, and I had four paying customers before we decided to quit. But yeah, I mean, we created that particular piece of product, and interestingly, a person comes up to my room. This person is a part of my team. I don't know how they found the tool. They said, "Hey Rahul, I've taken this interview on. Can you review it?" And this was our tool that we developed. And then I was like, "Hey, how do you know about it?" He said, "I found it on Google." And I remember writing this Medium article with some other name on it. And this person found that Medium article, took that interview, and he said he loved the tool. And I was like, hey, this is a validation. We built the right tool, and our person only is using it. So that was the first thing. Second thing is when we were quitting, for me, it was easy because, always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always wanted to take that risk. So I had no second thoughts about it. But for my family, they were like, you are taking a bad decision because you are leaving a high-paying job and getting into a risky world, etc., etc. And I obviously didn't listen to that. I asked them to wait, be patient. Results will come in.
There was pressure culturally, like from your family. Is this like your family, like wife family? Is this like parents' family? Or is this like everybody
my
you
parents.
knew? Your parents.
My parents.
Okay.
But they're also supportive. They were just as scared from a perspective that I am leaving my comfortable job and risking everything for this. But they were also supportive at the end of the day, ultimately. But I really think, from that perspective, just talking about the Indian ecosystem a bit, I think it's changing. And more young entrepreneurs are coming out, which I really like about it now. And more people are giving, more encouragement to these people to, start up. I genuinely think that even if you end up being an employee, you should start up sometime because it will make you 10x better. You just end up seeing so many moving parts, so many variables together that it just will make you 10x better. And I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's how it is, but it's changing in India.
So internally for your company, how many people do you have as employees and part of your team?
Right now, we are at about 65-ish.
About 65-ish. What's the biggest challenge with the team that size for you?
I really think 0 to 1 was a different game. 1 to 10 is a different ball game altogether. 1 to 10 is more structured, has to be more efficient. So the biggest challenge, that I see right now is obviously, and that I used to see last year as well, is hiring the right talent, hiring the right leadership. I think that because you can't do everything single-handedly, and at some point in time, leaders have to come in and take the plunge and take the company forward and be aligned with your vision. So I think a CEO should always be hiring. So that's one of the biggest challenges, finding the right talent and making them stay in the company and aligning them to the vision.
Right, that's what we're talking about here. You're good at filtering, but that doesn't always mean they end up staying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, for startups, there are always different layers of problems.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, with us, I remember, Manny, it felt like for the longest time we had maybe 10 to 15 or 20 people, after we started getting some clients, and all of a sudden it felt like I blinked and there we are with 200 and some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like, wow, what happened? And here stateside, obviously we haven't scaled that much, but stateside it felt like it was just you and me and then Joe.
Initially, yeah.
And then we had, some independent contractors who eventually became employees. And the beginning of January, we had 4 people in this office, and now we have 12 or 13.
12 or 13.
Yeah, so it happens fast.
yeah, I mean, it happens fast. It's super important to be aligned with that. I mean, some days as a CEO, I think that, I should be sitting in Singapore right now and, acquiring the market there.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the paper and say, India has to become flywheel before I do that. So it's just a matter of creating that right leadership, which I think is super important.
So Rahul, are you the only company in the world who is doing this?
I have competitors, but they're not as good as we are.
There it is.
I genuinely mean it. I mean, if you compare line by
Are
line,
they doing it differently? Is that
they're
why?
doing it
Or
very differently. I'll tell you, they have never, and this is where my problem is. They have never envisioned it as democratizing interviewing. A lot of my competitors have interviewers that either they have hired on their payroll, which I absolutely hate. I don't think that's a model that can actually blow up. I really think it has to be democratized. Owners has to lie to the interviewers so that they can earn whenever they want. So that there's a pull effect from there. I think they have not done that aspect of it. The second aspect is, in this fast-moving world where gratification is so important, none of these companies is paying the interviewers instantly. I'm not saying they can't do it; they might end up doing it, but it's also maintaining your cash flows, operating revenue in a certain way. That even if you are getting that money from an organization after the end of the procurement cycle, you are paying these interviews after the very next second the interview is over.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, where the pull factor lies. And that is what will bring about that change. I also think that, with this idea scaling, and I envision a world where, let's say we are doing 1 million interviews a day, single-handedly. And if we envision a world like that, how do we control quality and bring in standardization? I also think a lot of that effort needs to grow into templatizing a lot of these roles at so many different layers, because I can't compare an Accenture today with a Google, because they both might be hiring a backend engineer, but the bars might be completely different. The process might be completely different. So how do I bring the templatization to make sure Accenture is also addressed and Google is also addressed at the same time? I think that's a piece where whosoever cracks this market has to become product first. And most of my competitors are not product first. Wherever I studied them very closely. So, I mean, I'm not saying they might not change. As of today, it's not that.
So Rahul, tell me something. So you have like hundreds and hundreds of interviewers, on your panel. So who is watching them? Who is grading
how do you hold them accountable?
Who's making sure the quality?
Yeah.
So initially when we started, it was pretty difficult. We had to watch every video recording because the interview rounds are happening on our platform only. We had the control to, gauge anything over and above, because now we have done so many interview rounds. There are algorithms that we have built where every interview is transcribed, and we are able to pick certain patterns out of it to see, these following don'ts should not have happened in the interview round. And that is what we are able to gauge easily. Secondly, there are community guidelines. So this is the second layer after the interview is done. There is a pre-layer as well before the interview is done. The interviewers are given a set of 5 community guidelines that they can't disobey. If they disobey that, either depending on what they have disobeyed, either their rating drops. If their rating drops, they don't get interview requests, which means they lose a chance to earn. Secondly, if they do something big, let's say they ask personal details of the candidate, which is completely prohibited, they'll get banned. They're not allowed to do that at all. And because in any marketplace, on the demand and the supply side, there are few people gaining a lot from it, and I call it a pyramid. The people at the top of our pyramid, I would say the top 30%, which I call the core of the pyramid itself, are the people which are super serious, and that is where the majority of the interviews also go. And
well, that's Pareto principle, right? That's like the highest performers are the lowest number in anything.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So these people take the community guidelines really, really seriously. And if there is a bottom of the pyramid, we just make sure these are newer interviewers which are slowly getting onboarded, and our teams make sure they spend more time with them till they get to the upper layer of the pyramid. So that's a simple process that we have made. But as we learn more and more from the market, we start implementing more things. I'll tell you some of these scenarios. Like we take so many interviews every day. We get scenarios where candidates are just sitting in front of a camera and there's somebody else speaking, and these candidates are lip syncing.
What?
It's insane to see that.
Get out of here.
An interview round. And initially, when we saw that, we had no mechanism to control it. And those interviews actually happened. The candidate was able to clear that interview round, and we later on saw the recordings and we were shocked. And then we had to implement more features into the product itself. So it's, you learn on the go and you keep revising the wheel, but how much ever we have learned so far is already there. So
with that, I want to ask about that a little bit. So I'm getting interviewed. I'm just going to lip sync. Someone else is going to be a voice. Now, how is that getting by the interviewer? Is the interviewer in on the game?
Yeah, so it's super interesting. So there are two common traits for any candidate to do that. Firstly, they are either connected to AnyDesk or TeamViewer like software, so that the other person can, take control of the screen and start typing in the code. Secondly, they're sitting in the dark and they're sitting far away from the camera, so that even if they're lip syncing, you're not able to notice the right syllables, if they're speaking the right syllables or not. So they're just moving their lips. So these are the two common traits that we notice. So we engineered our system around it. One is our system catches hold of a third-party application if it's open. AnyDesk is open or a TeamViewer is open, it will show a pop-up to the interviewer that there's a remote connection active. You might ask the candidate to shut it down. Secondly, if the candidate is sitting in the dark or they're sitting far away from the camera, it's mandatory for the interviewers to tell them to come in bright light, come in front of the camera. So it's been more than 8 months now we have done that. There has not been a single slippage where we have not caught this scenario. And these lip syncing scenarios happen every day. 1 or 2 scenarios we catch every day.
Oh, that's crazy. Just people trying to game it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool.
So this is interesting. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing something like this. Yeah. People are doing, wow.
I wonder if that's ever happened.
The imagination of the people.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I wonder if people
I mean, even if they clear the interview, they still have to do the job.
Right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in remote scenarios, and this is what we have seen with a lot of companies, especially doing contractual jobs. What they do is basically they outsource it to somebody else to do it, and they just make a cut, and then they're also doing dual employment or multiple employment at the same time.
I've heard about that.
I've
heard about that. Yeah.
How do you bypass that?
Okay, so you have created this whole new category of like a job, like interviewers. This is a job now, right? And how much you're like best interview making? Like just a ballpark figure.
I mean, Joe also had a question. Joe, I'll get back to your question as well.
Yeah.
But just to answer your question, I mean, ballpark, I can give you some Indian numbers right now. On an average, an Indian interviewer is able to make around $3,000 a month.
That's great.
Yeah, that's how much they make. Yeah, and if I were to do the same thing in US, we are already there in the US with some of the companies, but we are not doing very big numbers so that I can tell you that, hey, now I have a fixed pattern, so I can tell you the average. But I can easily tell you that an engineer in the US will earn at least 2 times more than that.
And all they have to do is just interview people, and they're not even busy throughout their 8 hours of the day.
Yeah. All they have to do is take about 5 to 6 interviews a week. And they can accommodate it in odd hours or Saturday and Sundays as well.
Wow. We're in the wrong
coming back to your question. Your question was, how are we able to mitigate if these people are outsourcing their own?
Yeah.
We don't handle that. I mean, as long as we are able to filter these candidates out, we are able to tell these companies, hey, we caught 2 or 3 candidates who were lip syncing. So here's
Yeah.
we saved you,
Yeah.
and that's where it is. That's where it ends for us.
So your majority of the market is India, or like, it's now your business is expanding globally?
It's expanding globally. We have demands from Australia and New Zealand as well. We do have demands from US, but it also is dependent on the larger economic slowdown that is there. So the demand that was there till last year from the US, and we were serving more customers than we are today from the US, is because of the market slowdown itself. But we have been penetrating into the market. I have customers from UAE as well, which are hiring. So
Have you ever, Rahul, considered marketing and selling the app that you guys developed?
you mean selling it to somebody else?
The actual application and selling that as a service. The app itself, for them to leverage the app's capabilities and build their own interview network, but pay you a monthly recurring revenue based on whatever you guys wanted to calculate.
We do have that model, and it constitutes about 10% of our overall revenue.
See, we think alike. Great minds think alike. You and me, Rahul. See, Manny was probably thinking that too. He's like, we could sell that. That's really cool. Well, we're coming up on about you've been with us all about 45 minutes. So let's transition into some fun talk. So, Rahul, what do you do? What's a hobby for you? What do you enjoy when you're not building this amazing business?
I literally enjoy reading about companies that have made it big. I enjoy reading about a lot of analytics and problem solving. Enjoy reading about where the world is moving. Honestly, 3 years back it was not like that, but after becoming an entrepreneur, it's very important to know all these things. I think a lot of things it directly or indirectly affects your business. So it has almost become my hobby now. So I would be reading news, reading a lot of macro analytics. Reports get published by McKinsey or EY, etc. I do read a lot of them, or read a lot of books.
Yep. Anything else to decompress? Just get rid of your energy.
I've not done anything in a while, so I can't think about it anyway, honestly.
No, I was just saying, like say cricket, like maybe at least over the weekend, you play cricket.
No, it's been a while. I've taken an off as well. I would rather, if I have to switch off myself, I would watch something silly,
comedy or
something super silly, which is not smart at all.
Okay, so well, I can understand that. What's your favorite movie, Rahul?
Maybe favorite show.
I don't know, honestly. My favorite movie. It's been a while, honestly. I mean, I might come out as a super boring person.
That's okay.
That's not true.
I might not even have ever heard of it if it's not a US made movie, but Annie will know. Joe might know.
No, I don't have any favorite Hollywood movie, honestly. I have watched a lot of Hollywood movies, but I really love Bollywood.
Okay.
So my favorite movie would be from India only, but I don't remember any. I don't have any favorites. I really like some of the stories that are built a certain way. Like I really like the movie Three Idiots. I like the movie. I like that movie Dangal. It's super inspiring. I like the movie called Air, which was they're on Netflix, I think, or Amazon Prime. I don't remember. This was
that the Michael Jordan story one?
Yeah.
The Michael Jordan one, how they came up with the Nikes and stuff.
Yeah. And the stats are like super amazing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I really like that movie. I really like Shark Tank US. I really like Shark Tank India as well.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Small Ball?
No.
Or Moneyball. It's called not Small Ball, Moneyball.
Yeah, Moneyball. Yeah.
Moneyball's really good too.
I've heard of Moneyball. It's in my list. Maybe I'll watch it someday.
You'll probably like it. It's all about data and analytics for the sport. For the sport of American baseball. It's really cool, really neat story how they watched the little numbers, not the big numbers that everybody watched, like home runs and things like that. They watched the little numbers, got the inexpensive players, and built a championship team.
Really cool. I really love that. There's an equivalent. I'm not saying similar sort of thing, but I watched this Indian series which is on Indian Premier League. But they watch the little numbers, little statistics to improve the players. And I've read books on it where, how a tennis team was improved by a great coach, or how a football team, soccer team was improved by a great coach. And they just worked on that 1% to compound it and ultimately, win the cup. So I really like that.
There's a huge principle behind this in everything, in life in general. So if you look at a giant ship, if you look at a huge whether it's a battleship or maybe a cruise liner, the biggest ships you can think. There's a little piece on the back of the rudder called a trim tab. Okay, just a small, and just moving that trim tab to the left or right will compound and can shift the whole ship in a different direction. And small movements. And so I say the same thing, like when I'm coaching people or I'm talking with people, or this is what I learned, in business is when you're learning, small bits of information over time lead to huge result changes. And it's not a straight line, an increase, it's parabolic. So it's these little things, they don't look like they're going far, and you're going across and all of a sudden, whoosh, if you stick with those small things long enough.
That is so true. There's a quote I read in this book where a plane is traveling from San Francisco to New York. If they tilt even by 2 degrees, they'll end up being in Greenland.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
you'll never get
Over
your
that
destination.
coast. So
Yep.
yeah, that's how it compounds. So,
But see,
it's
most
insane.
people, we don't have the patience or the foresight enough to realize these little things that we're doing, like Rahul, like reading. Like if you just decide to up and quit reading someday and watching these numbers, you're gonna stop the progress that you have started building. And you might have to start from ground zero if you quit for long enough. But that little bit compounded over time, you get exponential results.
That's true. I agree with it.
So very cool. All right. So he likes to read. Do you like to travel or anything like that? Do you got places you like to
I
go?
travel a
or
lot.
What's your
I
favorite
travel a lot.
destination? Where do you like to go?
Last 2 years, I might have done about 120 flights.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, I travel a lot. So it's all for work.
for
Nothing
work,
like
yeah.
a vacation or anything. But it's all for work. But I travel a lot. It's extensive. It's outside of India as well. But
Where's
that
your favorite
happens.
place to go when you have to travel for work? Where do you like to go?
I like Mumbai a lot.
Mumbai.
I really love it because I get the time to switch off as well because that city has a water body. So
Yeah.
I like to switch off, but at the same time, there are customers who make you feel good. So I love Mumbai. But apart from Mumbai, I really think Singapore is a great place. Technologically advanced. I've been reading about the history of Singapore as well. How they have, completely changed the whole outlook of the country and how it is as a country today. It's amazing. So whenever I go to Singapore, it's more than anything else. It's super inspiring. Yeah.
So where are you located in India? Where is the
Bangalore.
company look? Bangalore. Okay.
Manny, where did you go a little while back when you were doing your immigration? So was it Vietnam? In Vietnam, where were
I
you?
went to Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City.
Ho Chi Minh City. So you were there for
I
like
love
a month.
Vietnam. I've been to Vietnam, and I didn't like Ho Chi Minh City that much, but there's a city called Da Nang.
Mm-hmm.
Da Nang.
I think it's an amazing place. I think it's one of the best cities I've been to because that city has everything. That city has a sea. That city has hills, and then that city has an amazing weather. I used to think Bangalore has the best weather, but Da Nang kills it all the way. Super wide roads, you can drive.
Huh.
Great weather, and that city knows how to party.
Rahul likes the party. So now it's coming out. So you mentioned you like the water. Do you like the ocean? Do you swim? Do you like to go out in it? You like to get on a boat? What do you like about the water?
I don't know how to swim.
So it's got to be an Indian thing. I don't ever like to necessarily just lump everybody into a group, but I know a few Indians.
It's an Indian thing.
I've yet to meet one that knows how to swim.
No, you are right. It might be an Indian thing, maybe. Not a lot of people know how to swim. Honestly,
I tried to get Manny
Especially
to come
people who live
swimming
in
with
the urban
me.
areas.
Manny, Joe, do you know how to swim?
Yeah, I know, but it's like North Indians, they don't know how to swim. But if you go to South, they don't.
There are like
they know how
lots
to
of
I agree
water
with that.
bodies
I
in
100%
South
agree
India.
with that.
Like lakes
Yeah.
and lakes and rivers in South? More
Yeah, but
lakes
also
and rivers in
I really think in South India it has to do more with the cultural aspect of how the upbringing overall is. I really think South India is more structured, North India is more chaotic, and I don't know what and I really love my little movement from North India. I belong from the North, but I came to the South, and I really I'm actually loving South India and how people operate here. But I totally agree with Joe.
Another thing about South India is, it's surrounded by sea.
Yeah.
Whole of South India. North India, okay, it's hills.
You might be away from
Hills and
the
mountains,
coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. It's a weird concept because growing up here, almost everybody at some point in their young life gets forced into the water. Like with me, I didn't want to swim, but my mom just put floaties on my arm and threw me in the swimming pool and said, there you go. And I'm kicking and screaming. And then all of a sudden I'm floating. And then I was okay, I guess I can swim now.
Wow.
All right. So we got a little bit out of Rahul. Likes to party. He likes the ocean, but he can't swim. He's a reader.
I watch a lot of air crash investigations as well.
Air crash investigate. Okay. And Shark Tank, you like, obviously.
Yeah.
Business guy. Do you follow cricket at all? We get to talking about cricket because Manny loves cricket.
Yeah, I do follow cricket a lot, but I don't watch every match.
Yeah.
I just watch the highlights.
So you're following.
That's with everyone right now. I mean, even I do that. I cannot spend the whole day, like to watch a one-day game. Maybe T20 I'll watch the whole match, but one day, yeah.
Manny,
it takes a whole day.
You're under-exaggerating. You mean the whole week for a match?
No, that's for a test match. I've been trying to explain this guy, for so many years. There is a difference between a test match and a one-day match and a T20. But he always talks about, whole week.
It's such a strange concept for sports. From any U.S. sport has a start and a finish, and it's usually 2 to 3 hours. You have 4 quarters, so much time, or 9 innings, and there's not really a time limit behind the innings. But even in professional baseball, they've started to make it to where you can't take so many time between bats or between pitches to shorten up the game. I think they've just learned.
The difference is you guys get bored very easily. So anything beyond 3 hours, okay, you'll get bored. We don't get bored, even for 5 days. It will be still interesting for us.
All right, we're going back to the game. What's today? Wednesday.
Yeah.
But I'm learning. a little bit. These two had me downstairs in our office where we got a bunch of big wide open space with a ball and a bat, and they were bowling and beaning me with the ball, and I was trying to learn how to bowl. It's fun. I think sports in general are fun. I love learning new games. So I've got a long way to go.
I think cricket is to India as how swimming might be, to maybe Australia. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But India is a cricket obsessed nation. Everybody plays cricket in their free time. At least wherever I have seen, people would play cricket or watch cricket.
Yeah. We'll throw our kids, in the pitch, and they learn how to play cricket.
Cricket or die, child.
Yeah.
Oh man, well that's good stuff. So we're coming up. There was just a kind of a holiday in India. What was that just happened, Manny, Joe?
Dashera.
Dashera.
Yeah.
So over the weekend, you and your family and Joe went to a Hindu temple here.
No, that was like Navratri. So we attended a Garba. It
Dance.
was like a Garba dance. Yeah, that they had this in
so
Franklin
something totally
area.
different.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's totally different. Yeah, but once Navratri gets over, you have the Dashera. This is now, like the festival season. Okay. Every few weeks, there will be a festival.
Holiday. Yeah, leading up to Diwali, right?
Yeah, leading up to Diwali.
So we're not going to ask you what your favorite.
But it's good to meet families.
Yeah. It's not good for the business. Everybody's taking off, and like the other day, I came in on Tuesday of this week, and the staff's like, "Oh, we're kind of just sitting around. We want to talk to the team, but everybody in Hyderabad and Noida, they're all gone. They're all off for today." I'm like, "Okay, who authorized that?" But so we won't ask about U.S. holidays. What's your favorite in India holiday?
Oh. There's this festival that's celebrated in the north. This festival is called Lodi, and there you get to fly kites. And it's not just the kite flying experience that I like, but the whole city sort of comes together to celebrate that festival. And I really like the liveliness of that festival, even more than Diwali. So yeah, that's my favorite holiday.
So what's the history or the purpose of this festival?
I think it's a harvest, religious thing.
Harvest? Celebrate the harvest? Or
celebrate the harvest. There is a religious story also behind that. I mean, I don't know much about.
Even I don't know the story behind Lodi, honestly.
But yeah, mainly one of the reasons is the harvest. During that time, like the farmers celebrate their harvest, sitting around fire. Like dancing and singing.
Okay, cool.
But
Well-
there is a religious reason also for that. Yeah.
So we're coming up on we're in the middle of the week. We're coming up on the weekend here. Rahul, what do you got going on this weekend? You got anything fun to do, or are you just going to work the whole weekend? I mean, when the money's good, why not work, right? When the money's good, why not work? What do you got something fun planned or?
No, I mean, for me, when I left the job, for me the core motivation was not money; it was problem solving. So I just love doing that.
Me too.
So it doesn't feel like I'm working, honestly. But this weekend, comparatively, I'm available. So if you want to catch up, we can catch up in Bangalore for sure.
Oh, there we go. All right. So no, like not married yet, no kiddos. It's just you, bachelor.
Oh no, I have a wife, but I don't.
Oh,
have
you're
kids.
married. How long have you been married?
Been 2 years now.
2 years. No kids yet?
No kids.
Come on, man. You got to make those parents grandparents. I know they're talking to you about it.
No, I
know they're like, Rahul, where are my grandbabies? Where are they? I know they're bugging you. I know. I don't know Manny's mom. I know Joe's mom. Her name is Rosie, and she keeps me well fed. She's always asking about the kiddos. So I know they're asking you about grandbabies.
Every Indian mom will keep you well fed. we are known for that. Every Indian mom will
Rahul.
keep you well fed. Yeah.
We still have to, like maintain our, popular, number one position in the world.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have to cross 1.5 billion. So contribute, man.
That's the fun part. All right. Sorry. What's your wife's name?
Neha.
Neha. We've had Nehas in the company. Yeah. Beautiful name. Well, I'm sure she's wonderful. Tell her we all say hi, and she's got a good guy, it sounds like, with her too. So we're bumping up right against an hour here, bud. So we don't want to take all your time. We would if we could. Hopefully we've made a new friend today. I feel like we have. Amazing story. I can't wait for our audience to hear from you. Any kind of parting words of wisdom from you, Rahul, for us as we're growing our business as well?
No parting
Just
words
let's go
of wisdom. I don't know if I have enough wisdom, but this is what I tell everybody that I meet who's starting up. I just tell them, just go for it. Don't think about it. Don't chase perfection. Go for it right now. Now is the time.